Welcome to Western Trading Post TV. On this episode, we are going to be talking about horsehair pottery, buffalo soldiers, the Fred Harvey Era jewelry, visiting with world-renowned native artist Tommy Jackson, and getting some helpful hints about belt buckles. So hold on to your hats and enjoy the ride.
Hey, Louis Smith, look at you all in your Buffalo Soldier outfit. Dadgum, look at that. What have you been up to?
Just came from Superstition Mountain.
You're doing a show over there?
Yes, I was. We were up there all day and talking to people and letting them know about Buffalo Soldier and the history and things like that.
Yeah? So. Hey, one thing I noticed is you don't have your trapdoor rifle with you.
Yeah, I really need one of those. Stop by to see what you could do about that. If you had one or you had any idea where I could find one.
I can hook you right up. Let's see. Look at here. Here's one right here. Model 1873 Springfield trapdoor rifle. It's 45-70 caliber. All right. Got the official government inspector stamps on it. It's the real deal. That one would have been made in the late 1870s.
We are here in the Western Heritage Room. We kind of sneaked back with Louis Smith, who is a Buffalo Soldier reenactor. He goes and shares the history and the amazing story of the Buffalo Soldiers. Louis, thank you for being here at the Western Trading Post today. I just have to ask, what is a Buffalo Soldier?
Well, a Buffalo Soldier is a group of men that got together after the Civil War. After the war, the United States had problems with getting men recruited in, and the African Americans at that time were looking for something to do to prove themselves, and the Army was a natural fit for them. They came in and recruited and came across the Western expansion.
So Louis, how did they get the name Buffalo Soldiers?
They got the name when they came out and started fighting Apaches. They actually got it because they got off the horses and started fighting them toe to toe. Prior to that, the Army always fought them either off the horses or as a group and shooting at them. They never really fought hand to hand. The Indians at that time said, who is this that the white man has sent out here that's fighting us and coming at us on foot and hand to hand and just not backing off? The only thing we've ever seen that did that was the buffalo, you know. And the similarities was the buffalo had curly hair, that was a dark complexion, and when you attacked it, that buffalo never backed off and it just kept coming. So they gave them the term wild buffalo, is what the Indians called them originally. That name was later changed to Buffalo Soldier, and that stuck with them all the way up to the Korean conflict. And that's when it was actually, the Army started integrating the service and started putting black soldiers with white soldiers.
Now, this is probably a really silly question, but I have to ask anyways.
Okay.
Was there any women Buffalo Soldiers?
Yes, there was.
There was.
There was one that has been on record. There probably was others too, but there was one. Her name was Kathy Williams, and she was actually a cook, and she worked at one of the forts. And when they came and started recruiting, she wanted to be part of the soldiers that came out west. She went in to and tried to get in, sign up, and they said, there's no women in the Army. No, you can't sign up. So she went back out, and she decided that she was going to get dressed up as a man, came back in and told them, my name is William Kate. And she was actually, she got in. She fought for 4 to 6 years with the soldiers. She was injured twice, and they never knew she was a woman. And then finally she was injured again, and they had to amputate her toes. And when they did that, they found out that she was a woman, and they discharged her after that.
Louis, thank you so much, and I look forward to working with you on future projects. saddle looks very familiar. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it should look familiar to you. This is the saddle that you rode in when we were shooting Sage Woman.
On my favorite horse. Well, one of my favorite horses,
One of your
course,
favorite horses,
Ace.
correct. And the same saddle we used for Will Smith promo for the Wild Wild West. He rode Spiffy and Ace, and Annie Leibowitz, a well-known photographer, did all the shots. And he rode this saddle on both horses for the magazine.
So this saddle, Will Smith and Ace were on the cover of Vanity Fair.
No, Spiffy was on the cover,
okay.
rearing the horse, and then Ace was in the
running shots.
Inside, yeah.
And then who else has rode this saddle?
Tanya Tucker rode this saddle on a music video called "The Two of Us" about her parents. Angie Everhart rode this saddle.
So this is, I mean, not only was it on two very famous movie horses, but very famous people have got to ride it, and I've had the honor of putting my butt in that seat as well for a few projects that we've been working on.
And I don't know if I charged you for that.
Yeah. Now I see that you have brought something else for me to look at or to share with me, or...
I did. You know, I helped Ben Johnson do his celebrity events for about 13 years, all over the country, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Houston, here. And I brought these buckles that I was fortunate enough to win.
At the Ben Johnson Celebrity Rodeo, which you were involved in them for several years?
Yeah, I furnished livestock for a lot of the other actors to come in to ride, and we had wagons and the burning stagecoach gag going on, you know, as entertainment, and, you know, just a few tricks of the trade.
And you worked with Ben Johnson, you rodeoed with him for several years?
I started rodeoing in 1954. That's about when I met Ben in Sedalia, Missouri. Him and Slim Pickens was standing talking to a rodeo clown friend of mine named Bud Heaton, who was very well known.
Pat Larkin has been in the film industry for over 50 years and has worked with some of the most major and famous stars in the industry. He's done a little bit of everything from acting to stunt work to driving teams and 4-ups to stunt coordinating. I don't know, you've just done everything on the movie set. And he is one of my dearest friends and a huge mentor of mine. He has taught me so much about stunt work and being on different sets and trying to diversify myself, which comes to a film that we just finished up, which was Warning. Correct. And that's going to be coming out. That was a little bit different. That was kind of like a horror flick type of deal, but it's just always a fabulous treat and a learning experience for me every time I get to be on set with this fabulous gentleman. So tell me, what are you thinking with all of these items?
Well, the saddle, for instance, is a saddle that's been in several movies with some big-time stars, including yourself, naturally.
Well.
And you and Jim have this beautiful Western store and jewelry and old-timey saddles and artwork and everything. I just thought maybe, you know, you might want to display it. And
wow. Well, first of all, I know you, and I know that you're going to want me to get it all cleaned up and oiled up.
Yes,
and,
yes, exactly. Right.
No, actually, it would be an absolute honor to be able to showcase this saddle, tell the story. You've kept the provenance along with it, and that just makes it such a special piece for us to share as different people come through our heritage room and kind of check out our amazing Western history. So Pat, it would be an honor, and I will get her all cleaned up for you for your next
Great.
film.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
On today's Helpful Hint segment, we're going to talk about dating belt buckles. I don't mean taking them out to dinner. I mean, how do you put a date range on them? Because that has a determining factor in their value. Now, the Western style belt buckle is worn as a fashion statement all around the world, but a lot of people don't realize that there was not a Western style belt buckle like we think of today in the Old West. As a matter of fact, the only belt buckles that were around in the Old West were concho belt style belt buckles, which the Native Americans made. They would have been something about like this buckle right here. And there were buckles on gun belts and chaps back then, but they would have been you know, a real plain little ranger style belt buckle. A lot of people don't realize, but it wasn't until around the 1920s that there were even belt loops on jeans. Before that, most people wore suspenders. About in the 1930s and 40s, the Western style belt buckle started to come along. And when they first came along, they were just a little bit of an adaptation from what you were seeing before on the gun belts and chaps and stuff, and it was a little Ranger style belt buckle like this right here. This one is actually a good example of a 1930s or 40s era belt buckle. Around mid-century, they started coming out with a belt buckle a little bit more traditional like what we know today as a Western style belt buckle. It would have looked something similar to this. Now, one of the things that we can do to determine whether a belt buckle is from that era or newer is look at the back. On the back side of this belt buckle, for example, there is a solid bar where you attach the belt to. This buckle right here is a 1960s era example, and again in the 1960s there was a solid bar on the back of most belt buckles still. However, in the 1970s there was an evolutionary change in belt buckles. This belt buckle right here is an example of a 1970s belt buckle, and if we'll turn it over and look at the back, there is a swivel hinged bar on the back that you attach the buckle to. There were a few of these swivel hinges on the back of belt buckles in the 1960s or so, but they were of the handmade variety. The silversmiths were making them themselves. By the 1970s, they were commercially produced, and a lot of silversmiths started using them. This belt buckle right here is a good example of about a 1980s era belt buckle, and the swivel hinge on the back is pretty standard. However, we don't want to rely on a swivel hinge to be for sure that the belt buckle is not a little bit newer. This belt buckle here is actually a 1980s belt buckle that somebody put a solid bar on the back of. And right here I have a belt buckle that was made a few months ago, actually brand new. And the silversmith in this belt buckle elected to put a solid bar on the back as well. So, to wrap things up, if your belt buckle has a swivel hinge on the back, it was definitely made in the 1970s or later, especially if it's of the commercial variety. If it has a solid bar on the back, it was most likely made in the 60s or earlier, but don't use that to determine for sure 100%. That has been today's helpful hint from Western Trading Post.
Hi, Bobbi Jeen.
Well, Paige, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, how did you get off the ranch?
I escaped.
Oh. What are you up to?
I just came in to chat with you. I'm opening a store, and I just need to know some of the things that I needed to have in there.
Well, first of all, you have to have everything, and you have to wear everything and model it. So this is exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is a big step for you, isn't it?
It is. It is.
So, you know, I really think, you know, you need to kind of have a little bit of everything, but something that is so hot right now is the Fred Harvey Era bracelets, rings, pins, very, very popular. I mean, we sell to big designers, and it's so exciting seeing our pieces actually on the runway or in their ads. So Fred Harvey, hot, hot, hot right now. You know, we have like the Fred Harvey bracelets. There's a whole different variety of them. And the Fred Harvey era was from 1900 to 1955. And it was highway stores and restaurants all along Route 66. So it was little highway store trinkets, but now they have become so popular that everybody wants them and is collecting them. So, I mean, I think I see some Fred Harvey pieces that you have. So, you know, the bracelets, very popular and great to stack as you're doing there. So I would focus getting Fred Harvey era bracelets. Then what I've noticed is the pins are really popular. You've seen them in some of the ads in the hats and on the jackets. So we have the Fred Harvey era pins. We have quite a few of them because they're getting so popular right now. And it just kind of depends on your style. A very beautiful Fred Harvey pin.
Oh, how pretty.
And you see how you can kind of display them. A lot of people are wearing them all on their jackets and vests. And so the Fred Harvey era pins, very, very popular right now. I know, and you can put them on your purses. I mean, you have one on your shirt right there. So, and then the rings. We have a lot of the rings, and you want to let people know, you want to educate yourself and let people know that it is from, that they're old pieces from the 1900, 1955 era. And I think that really intrigues people as well. So when you're doing this, you'll have to kind of keep me posted, and maybe you can come in and we'll put a whole pile together and try to help get you going for the store.
That would be perfect. Well, I'll definitely keep you updated and give you some calls.
Oh,
make sure I have
please
everything together.
Do, yes. Well, you have to give me a hug. I'm so proud of you. Oh, and look at you. You look like you just walked off of a runaway. You are absolutely gorgeous.
I might have.
Shirley Smith has just stopped by the trading post. Shirley is an amazing Navajo horsehair pottery artist from the Four Corners area, and Shirley usually stops in a couple of times a year and blesses us with so many of her amazing, one-of-a-kind horsehair pottery pieces. Shirley, thank you first of all for stopping in the trading post. We always love seeing you. Tell us, what is horsehair pottery?
Horsehair pottery is like the one that you're holding right here. We clean and polish the pottery and we fire it at a high temperature, and then after we fire it, we take it out of the kiln and then we lay the horsehair on the pot while it's still hot.
And that's what gives you these unique designs, is the horsehair that's melted into the pot, correct?
It's burnt into the pot.
And then you add a little something special to each and every piece. You actually engrave them and paint them and even add turquoise to the different pieces.
Yeah, and then for instance, like this one here, I put a bear claw on here. And then the colors, when you turn it around, you get different multi-colors on there. Then when you flip it over, you got a different color here. So I did the whole pot, so it's not so plain.
That is just spectacular and can match almost every decor.
This one here is done natural red clay. It's a little bit different from the white clay. The red clay is a lot softer, so we fire it the same way, and then I band it, and then I etch the color, etch the pottery out. Then you turn it over, then the other side is etched too.
And every single piece has horsehair melted into it, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about this bear.
And then this one here is our fetish bear that we do. And this is the natural, just the natural color, the horsehair pottery with the etching on there. So when you etch, you get the white, the white color underneath it. Then I thought of something different, so I thought,
that is spectacular. Look at the colors, look at the piece of turquoise on it.
So this is something a little bit different that I've been doing. So if you get tired of one side, you can always turn it around to...
Now we have 16 pieces here. What kind of deal are we going to work today?
I'd probably go ahead and give them a good deal and probably go like $12,000 for them.
Jim! Jim!
Hey, I heard somebody's trying to hold the trading post up over here.
Right here, brought you pottery.
This is the amazing Shirley Smith from the Four Corners area. And like I said, she put so much pride, love into every single one of her unique pieces. And it's an honor to have her here at the Trading Post, and also an honor that we carry her pieces here. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
It is always such a treat when Tommy Jackson comes to the Trading Post. I always love to see what you have in your special briefcase before Jim gets to see it, because you know I am an avid collector of Tommy Jackson. Tommy, what has inspired you to create the most amazing one-of-a-kind pieces?
Probably what really gets me going is the stones. You know, when you pick out the stone, it speaks to you, and you just come up with some beautiful work, you know, just like this stuff here that you bought from me years back. The stone itself speaks for itself. I didn't do a lot of work around it, just put the little balls on there. It just looks like that old antique stuff. And look at the ring here, that's beautiful. Didn't take a lot of work, just a little simple work around the side. Just let the stone speak for itself. But I've always used the best stones I can do from Arizona and Nevada.
And you had a mentor that kind of worked with you.
Yeah, his name was Gibson Ness, and he's the one that always told me, use nothing but the best American turquoise and make sure it's heavy. So I've always followed that principle. The best stones I can get and nice and heavy.
Well,
deep stamping.
You are a world-renowned artist, and everybody that comes in is always looking for Tommy Jackson pieces.
Oh,
so it is always such a blessing when you come into the store. And just remember, next time you come in, show me the goodies first before you show Jim.
All right, we'll do that.
So, Tommy, looks like you picked out some really nice number 8 stones there.
Oh, yeah.
All
There's
right.
some really nice ones.
I'm really interested in these 8 rings here.
Okay.
You have about $1,000 worth of stones there. Why don't I trade you the stones and say $800 in cash? Will that work?
Oh, no. That ain't going to work.
You sure?
These all came out to $250 each. That's $2,000. There's $1,000 worth of stones here. I need $1,000 worth of cash.
$1,000 and $1,000. Are you sure?
Yes.
I can't twist your arm anymore.
You can't twist it anymore.
I tell you
twist
what,
it too much.
For Tommy Jackson jewelry, I'd
All right.
happily do that.
All right. Thank you.
All right,
thank you
you.
very much.